Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. We will get started in just a few minutes. I'm just giving everybody a little bit of time to get in. Good to see all of you that are on, though. All right, we are 2 minutes in. I'm still seeing the attendee list grow a little bit, but it's slowed down, so I think we will just get going. So welcome again, everybody, to this month's AutoCAD Electrical User Group. My name is Tiffany Bachmeyer. I lead the manufacturing consulting team for the Americas. I'm also joined by my esteemed colleague on my team, Matt Durst, who is also our resident vault expert, and he will be helping me also field your questions in the question pane and helping me facilitate this. But because of his expertise as well on here, we always open up this forum to being both electrical and vault discussion. So if you have questions on either side, we are happy to tackle them together as a team. And we are also joined by our lead of all of these amazing user groups, Anton. So thank you, Anton, for being here as well. And I don't know if either one of you want to say hi or introduce yourselves.
Hi to everybody, this is Anton. It's great being here, and thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah, and thanks Tiffany, and thanks Anton for putting this all together. Tiffany always does a great job, and happy to be a part of it and assist and answer any questions that I can regarding to Vault. So thanks.
Thank you both. All right, well, today I am going to start off. It is still going to be open Q&A, so feel free to start adding those things to the question panel of GoToWebinar. Matt will start looking at them and fielding them. But what I'm going to start today with is a update on a few things. So I know we don't normally do PowerPoints in this, but we're going to do it this time. As with many things that you will always see within Autodesk, because discussions can always go down certain roads that might be future looking statements, things like that. Always have to start with the safe harbor. And this is just some standard stuff. This is very nice that we're instituting with all of our different webinars, just a couple quick housekeeping things. Make sure your line is muted to reduce the background noise. However, I may ask you to unmute and actually talk about your question if I want more clarity, or if maybe you even want to share your screen. So always you have the opportunity to actually ask verbally if that's easier than you typing in your questions, or if we want to dive deeper into something. And then the link is always out there for the recorded sessions. It will be emailed to you, as well as it's always up on that same website that you use to log in to these and register for these webinars. There is quite a few different meetups if you guys didn't know this. So we have meetups for many different personas and different focus areas. Obviously here is ours, but there's also mechanical engineering, plant design, and so on. And there's even some new ones being spun up from there, so I'm sure that list will grow soon. If you guys didn't see this, this was one of the asks that I was given today to make sure I kind of evangelize this, and I would have anyway, because AU is really, really important to me. Many of you have probably seen me there or attended perhaps even some of my classes, and many of you maybe even teach your own classes there. So the call for proposals has opened. Please, please, please feel free to add your own proposal for classes that you might want to teach. We often team up with people too. So if you have interest in teaming up with someone at Autodesk to deliver a class, please let us know. We're always interested in doing that with our customers and with our partners. I will be, of course, submitting classes again around AutoCAD Electrical like I often do. And just as a reminder, AU is virtual this year. So this would be being done virtually to deliver your class, which is exciting too. All right. What I really wanted to bring you today and why I started with the PowerPoints in general was the what's new in 2021. So it's been out for a couple months now. I wasn't able to do it in our last webinar because we were tackling some other things in there, but I really wanted to talk about some of the new things. And there is one very, very, very exciting feature that I think you're all going to be thrilled about. And I started with it because I think it's so big. The global search in the catalog has returned. For many of you who didn't use 2014 AutoCAD Electrical or older, you weren't even aware that this existed. But it was something that in 14 and earlier, we actually had, and honestly, I love the new catalog since 14. I think that this search is a lot better than it was back then. Back then, it kind of looked like an Excel sheet. But up in the upper right-hand corner, there was always this way that you could search your entire catalog database, so all tables in the catalog. And when we moved to this new platform of the catalog that you see on screen here, we lost that. That was the global search was removed from it by the nature of how it was done here. And it was a big request. It actually came out of the ideas station. To get it back in there, and it was topped kudos. So many kudos with a little thumbs up on it were being given to that one. So the product team moved forward with actually bringing that one back into this, and it's a really exciting thing with 2021. So when we go live into the software, I'll show you that. But it's awesome, and it's very, very exciting to see. There are also additional catalog content updates from Eaton, from Siemens, and even additional PLC information added in with 2021. There were user interface enhancements, so additional refreshing of icons actually over all three of these releases. They kind of kept getting improved with around clarity, crispness, sharpening of the light theme for those who still go back to the light theme, which I normally do. Mine right now, my 2021 is still in dark theme, but when I'm presenting, I often go to light. So anybody who uses that, you'll appreciate some of the new updates to that. And even optimizing some of the background colors to handle that contrast a little bit better. So again, just all things to help with the eyes for many of us that are in it all the time. Additional 4K monitor support has been added. So over the last 3 or 4 releases, we've been getting more and more dialog boxes and palettes updated for 4K monitor support. So that was additionally added. Of course, you always go into full screen mode and words get overlapped with images. It did not look like this earlier. Some more general enhancements. There was some database, obviously the project database that runs in the background that fuels everything for electrical, had some more stability enhancements added to it. And then there were some path updates for the pick project list that you can do inside the environment file. So anybody who's tweaking that in there, you can see that some of those enhancements were made. Publishing to hyperlinks, they are now actually adding cross references to those hyperlinks, and there's more enhanced hyperlink capabilities being added to it. So it's not just parent-child as you see in the dialog box, but there's additional enhancements that have been added. And then even more directory updates again with the environment file around project management. Just some quick drawing creation updates, inserting components and wires. Pin assignments of circuit breaker parents are now correct number of, there was a little bit of a bug that was submitted to it, and so this was to solve some of the correct number of child contact bugs that we were seeing in that. Improve stability of the fan in out workflow. The wire import brings in all aspects of the wire properties, where apparently for some it wasn't doing that. So that was another enhancement that was just cleaned up and brought in. And then wire numbers that are inserted using the insert terminal from the schematic list display now on the panel. So they're being shared out with that X data back into those panel terminals to be seen there. So those were all updates made. Reporting updates. So for any of you that actually are running different things within actually editing via Lisp with bill of materials, there were additional functions for those that were added in the German version of the software. It was already in the English version, but these were things that were updated in there. Sorting options in the set file are now sticky and staying in there. And then it just improves stability when generating those reports. Some very, very large reports, some people reported latency latency and other things, and so they've improved even enhancement of that. I never really experienced it, but I think some others have. So, and that's it. I just wanted to share out some of those new updates, and excited about, obviously, if you joined the session 2 months ago, last month, it was last month's session, we actually went through what we would really like to see within the software, which was exciting. So excited to be able to bring to you when we do this next year, perhaps some of your own ideas that were brought up there as potential new opportunities that we will have within 2022 release. So always exciting.
And Tiffany, we had a question come
Sure.
across on the global search that you had mentioned on your slides there, how it only searches the catalog, manufacturer, and assembly code fields. Is there any plans to expand that to search other fields in the tables?
Man, tough crowd. Not even excited about the global search. I don't know of that. I don't know if that's a request, but it's absolutely something we could bring up as a request. So, in fact, I ran this too fast. Hold on one second. Now it's just scanning everything, so it's going to take forever. If you were to search, so, and this is, I just want to show everybody this. If I were to do a search in just the category I'm in right now, around say 1492, I might see nothing, I might see something, but if I know that this exists somewhere, and then I go in and I actually do that global search, and this is a big one because that 4-digit combination is going to show up in a bunch of different things. It will then show me the count, the table that it's on. So which tables have the right amount of counts of what I'm seeing for 1492, and then show me that full concatenated list. Now, I don't know who asked that question. I'm not sure that's actually true, because I don't think, so just to understand, everybody, what this original search here does, this search searches any column that you have visible on here. So for instance, if you want the user one field on here, which is often what people use as a customer field of their own, so you might use it for your own company's catalog number tied to the manufacturer catalog number, you can bring that in. And as soon as it comes in, then that is now a part of, and why is this not letting me expand? Come on. Give me my arrows. There we go. You can
Tiffany,
see.
can you try searching the auxiliary contact?
Sure. Give me something that they want searched in there.
We can maybe unmute their line and they could talk to it. You're unmuted if you have a microphone.
Hi, Tiffany. It's Trond here.
Oh, hi, Trond. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. And well, the normal search, it searches all the visible fields in
Yep.
in the catalog browser. But as soon as you hit the global search, it does not. It only searches the three the catalog, manufacturer, and assembly code fields. So if
I
you
was
search
not
for
aware that
auxiliary
was
contact,
the
Siemens
limitation.
auxiliary contact, or something like that, it won't find it.
Yeah, I was not, I guess I'd have to go back and talk to the product team about that. I was not aware when I was first shown this, and even when I was doing my own original searches, I assumed it was searching all columns that you're seeing here as well. So I wouldn't have guessed that it didn't see all of those things. I'll have to ask them. I'll have to bring that back to them and see.
Yes, sure.
See what they have to say about that. Perhaps there's a trick.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tron, for the question.
That's good. So anyway, you guys have seen it now. So that's really what I wanted to show you was just where that was located and how you can now do that global search. What other questions might we have here?
That's all we have in the chat so far.
Okay. All right, I thought I saw
panel.
a list.
Yeah.
Right. Good deal. And I didn't have at the ready, Matt. I don't know if you do the list from last time, because I know because we looked at what do we want out of the software, we didn't get to all of those questions. I don't know if we still have that pulled up. I should have pulled it up in prep for this, and I did not have a chance to, because we could start addressing older questions in case any of those people are back on here. I'll
Yeah,
see
I
if I
think
can
I
pull
have
it
it
up
here.
quickly.
I'm trying to pull it up as well.
And while we do this, everybody, again, just that quick housekeeping thing, feel free to type in any questions, beginner, intermediate, advanced, to the question pane, much like Tron did, and feel free to jump in with anything you might have. Let's see. If I can pull the list. Any more questions coming in? You guys are quiet today. This is atypical for all of you. Okay, non-AutoCAD electrical questions. How's everybody doing through all of this? I'm assuming probably most of you are still home, perhaps depending on where you're joining us from. I know there are some locales that are opening up. Do we have, oh, I'm not in Zoom, I'm in GoToWebinar. I was gonna say, I don't have my, like, can I get thumbs ups or thumbs downs for how everybody's doing?
All right, Tiffany, I have it pulled up, and maybe something we could focus on here. You just start pulling questions from the
Sure,
list.
yeah, that'd be great.
This one here by Mark, and I don't think Mark Hagerman is on. Doesn't look like it. But when files get moved to a recycle bin for low permission users, is there a way to stop the XREFs from getting updated to make the relative path to the new location? That kind of seems more like a just AutoCAD general
Yeah, and I
question.
do think we might have actually tackled that one in that meeting. I remember that one. He had a lot of XREF things going on with it. I don't know if that's probably going to be applicable to everybody here. It's atypical to use XREFs with AutoCAD Electrical. It's just not, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's an atypical workflow compared to others. So
Okay. And then another one from Mark here. Is there a way to export the template paths and block file paths and save them or send to a new user so they can import the same file paths that they should have during setup?
So that is a very interesting question, and I would love to unpack that because that talks a lot about implementation of the software. So yes, to answer that question, there is a way to share that out. That's your environment file, right? So if you edit all of those paths and you get those set up the way that you want it to, you can share your environment file with other users to ensure that you're utilizing the same environment file that's going to take things to the right paths and doing the right things there. However, one of the top things that I recommend for any implementation of electrical, you are going to spend more time trying to repoint other people's machines to other areas and doing that than doing this from the onset of installation. Many people don't even know that you can do this. When you go to install, you should go in and actually click where it says AutoCAD Electrical 2021, and then there's a little configure software button. If you click on that, it expands and it allows you to make changes to things like choosing what catalog manufacturers you want, what symbol libraries you want to have included, where those paths are supposed to be. You know, are you vaulting it? If you are, you can tell it to be looking only in the vault workspace, so you don't have to repoint all of that afterwards. When you create that deployment, then that deployment is used for every other user, and no one has to do all the manual efforts of moving around those environment files and repointing their support files out of their AutoCAD options and all the other stuff that we have to do when we manually make those adjustments. So strong recommendation here that you absolutely do that from the deployment and you actually go through that install wizard. And there is, if you want to go deeper into any of that, there are a ton of AU classes on this. I've taught some. Rob Stein and I have teamed up and taught some. I see him on, I think Randy has taught some. So look for anything that's called AutoCAD Electrical Implementation, and you're going to find tons of info, documentation, and videos on are recommended install paths and how to actually get all that set up so that you can have things on shared network drives. Or like I said, if you're utilizing a Vault environment where you want to do it as opposed to it all just defaulting to the C drive. Do it from that initial install. And I'll even have people say, well, I've already installed it. You know, should I just have to go through all the manual path? No, uninstall it, create that deployment, reinstall. It'll be so much faster. And same thing, if you've just installed and never even looked at that, you probably never even realized the amount of manufacturer and catalog information and symbol libraries you can get from that. It's a big difference from what is, quote, out of the box, meaning you've never ever changed a configuration on it, versus what's out of the box if you actually expand and look at all those configurations. There's no extra cost. It's not anything like that. You just have to choose. It does not default to installing everything. And I'll tell you what, I install everything always, but that's because I'm in front of people demoing and testing things. So I want to have everything at my fingertips, but you'll have a lot more flexibility and choice over what you want within electrical, and you might not even be seeing its full potential if you didn't choose to install all those other things. Like I said, we have symbol libraries for every different, you know, we have the US standard, the international standard, the Japanese standard, Chinese standard, and Australian standards. We have the US standard in both imperial and metric formats. So, I mean, if you've never actually gone in there to expand on that, you've not seen all those different symbol libraries, let alone the million+ part catalog database entries from all the different manufacturers that we have. So it's definitely important to do that expansion and be able to set those library paths and everything else.
No, that's really good. Seems like a lot of the times too, sometimes during installation, the people that install the software are not really the ones that
The
are using
users.
it.
Yep.
Right. So they bypass some of those additional customizations or options that are available to you.
Exactly.
So while we're still on the topic, Andrew had a question about the classes that you had mentioned, and I think it was just AutoCAD
Sure.
Electrical implementation. So anything around that, will discuss the deployment aspects and some of the options that you can look into for that.
Yep, and it's all through the Autodesk University online portal. So just look up AU online, and you'll be able to find from years back. I mean, we pretty much rinse and repeat them with slightly different versions of them because they're such important topics. At every AU, we do some sort of implementation class. So there should be quite a bit of content out there.
Yeah, I have one here that I just found that I'll paste into the answer pane there, but it's a get powered and how to implement AutoCAD Electrical 2016. So
there you go.
Yep.
I mean, there's even newer ones though. Like I just did one last year with Rob for 2019 should have one.
Yeah, there's a AutoCAD Electrical and Vendors implementing.
Yes, that would be that one. I thought that was perhaps the EMX one. So Matt and I teamed up and did, in fact, 2 years ago, you and I did the implementation class, Matt, in 2018.
Yep. So yeah, I found it there. It's AutoCAD 2018. So
perfect.
I'll put that in there. And then actually we have a couple more questions coming in. Is there a way to verify footprint terminal wire numbers match schematic wire numbers? This is from Brandon. He sent an email a while ago. So electrical audit does not look at that information, is what he mentions.
Brandon, I thought we actually had addressed this one. I'm sorry if that slipped through the cracks, because I know that we had talked about missing some of your emails, but interesting. So verify the footprint terminal numbers match the schematic wire numbers. Yeah, so when you go to do anything that you have, and in my 21, I do not have all of my different test cases. So let's see what the NFPA demo is going to actually give me. And everybody do not look at the fact that all of these old demo sets that come with the software still have title blocks and model space. Don't do that. You should have your title block in paper space. Because most of my demo sets actually have it flipped and fixed. So let's just take a look at some of these. other terminals. Let's see what this is set up for. I think this is actually fully completed. So if we go in and edit this terminal strip. So is this, and I'm going to be asking clarifying questions. So Brandon, you may need to unmute your line, but they are always transferred in. The wire number, the wire type, all even downstream and upstream devices to where that terminal exists are all connected to it from schematic to panel. So I would assume that you should not have a problem with this as long as everything's been connected, right? Like as long as you're inserting, utilizing these tools and not.
Yeah, my question is, so say your terminal block's already inserted and someone makes a wire numbering change on the schematics, but forgets to update the terminal block. I review drawings. So is there a way, is there a report or some sort of something that can catch that, hey, you've got a wire number mismatch?
I mean, there are wire number mismatches in the audit, but I guess what I'm trying to figure out, you're saying like if this wire number, because that should automatically update, right? Like if I manually override this to, I don't know, sure. And I look for, let's just, let's do a surf on this one. Let's find, okay, so it's this one. It is on this terminal strip, so let's go back. I mean, it automatically updated it.
Yeah, so, but it still says it's fine, but your wire number is essentially, we display the wire number, so I'm trying.
Oh, not the terminal number. I see what you're saying.
Yes. So if you go into like the schematic and then insert terminal, or if you go into schematic and there doesn't seem to be a way to, hey, this information changed in your schematic. There's no way to update it on the footprint besides going into it and either doing a rebuild on everything, and there might not be anything that needs to be updated. But as a check for someone that's going through it, the only way that I found it is to manually just make sure that all the terminals match the schematics, which is incredibly time consuming. And sometimes
yeah, no, that sounds
we don't
terrible.
even do that, and the shop just catches it and we retroactively fix it. I'd just like to be able to either have.
No, it's a good call out. I would have thought that would get caught. And this re-updated itself because it went back to normal. I didn't fix that. I should have fixed it.
So in like the panel, if you go into the panel menu.
Yeah, hang on one second. I just want to do a fix on this and make sure that this actually don't, I'm not going to do it this way. Edit so that it automatically fixes it. I'm just running a quick test case here because I've never, typically with our project-wide update and retag, it would always catch these things. So there should be no reason for you to have to, unless people are manually overriding things and then not running a project-wide update. There really shouldn't be anything that you have to check to that level. Let's just see though. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one, didn't I? Of course I did. Which one was this one a part of? Why? Did I lose my panel component of this one? What is happening? Oh, that's why. I'm on the wire number. Sorry. You guys, you gotta keep me honest. All right. go. Yeah, see it updated as soon as the project-wide update and like I would tell you as a best practice, much like I tell people to do the electrical audit and the DWG audit as an end of a project, you should also do the project-wide update and retag always. Like you should just make sure all the drawings are clean, and then you'll catch all of those things. So that would be my advice to you. Like electrical shouldn't let that happen as long as you've done a project-wide update and retag. You shouldn't have to go manually checking all of that. That should just be something much like running an audit that the your design team just does.
But I guess if you're already displaying it in a block, does it update it in the block? So I have no idea that was a,
Yeah.
just by looking at it, there's nothing that tells me that. So
Yeah, if you're displaying it in the block, anything that's sitting here will go to the block, and the project-wide update and retag will update your block. Yes.
Yeah, so it'll update it, but I don't know of a way. I essentially would have to reinsert every one of them, do a rebuild on every one of them, whether or not they're correct or not. So say there's a wire, I guess there's a wire number mismatch between schematics and a footprint. The footprint says wire number 1, schematics say wire number 2.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing besides going into the term, doing a full retag and then going into each terminal strip and telling it to rebuild. There's nothing in there that I can run a report that says, hey, I've detected some sort of mismatch information.
I guess that's what I'm trying to understand is, I don't know what the full rebuild is. The project-wide update and retag will do it. You don't need to do a rebuild of the database if that's what you're talking about with the rebuilds.
Sorry, I misspoke. Yes, the retag, will that actually, if a terminal already exists in there, it'll re-push that information to it?
Yes. So terminals fall under components. So it will do in this setup, as long as you have these all check marks, the component retags, component cross-reference updates, and then wire and signal tags, as long as you have it doing all of those, it will do, it will check for all wire number updates, all related components that are tied to, because this applies even to things that we assign wire numbers to the PLCIO utility, or not, I'm sorry, not the utility, to the PLCIO definitions and the addresses, because we can have wire numbers apply to those, and same with component tags. So all those things are related and connected. So the project-wide update and retag will capture everything for you. So as long as people are utilizing that, you should not have any mismatches. It would also clean up half of the things in the audit that you might be checking for, like if there's duplication and things like that, the audit, you know, the project-wide update and retag would catch it. So I always run that before I even do an audit. But I actually did, to your question and your point, I actually thought that and of course there's nothing on here, I thought the terminal duplication would actually catch if something was mismatched. It's typically looking if you have multiple terminal numbers that are replicated, but I still thought it would check for a mismatch on there. We'd have to double check and look at that, but you shouldn't need it, because as long as you're running the project-wide update and retag, it's always going to see that connection. It's a good question though.
I'll try that out.
For everybody to see, because that's a good, everybody who doesn't know that, this tool is one of the most powerful tools within the software, but be careful with it. Don't just start check marking everything, because unless you need to change all of your ladder references, you don't want it to go through and do this. You don't need it to resequence all of your ladder numbers, because I'll tell you what, if you just check mark this and do nothing, it's going to start all of your ladders at 1, and it's just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 down through all your ladders. So don't utilize the rest of these if you don't need them. This is for specific things. Like I use this when I'm doing cut sheets. You know, in my old days of electrical engineering, I used to have drawing sheets that we would include in every project that were blanks in case we needed them. With electrical, you don't have to do things like that. So you can actually put a cut sheet in the middle of, say, pages 5 and 6 if you need an additional page, and you bump everything on 6 up to 7, and everything, you can do a bump up on everything. So I'll do that where I'll bump up everything, and same thing with sheet numbers and so on. So you can then run this on, when you go to do the project wide, you would click OK, and then you would only do it on drawings 6 and up, knowing that you're putting something in between 5 and 6. So there's lots of ways that this can be used. But in a general just project maintenance mode, this top section, you can see there's almost a little grid around these. This top section you should always feel comfortable using all the time. And I would highly recommend using it at the end of every project, just to make sure everything's clean, everything's connected, especially if you've had multiple users in the, AutoCAD Electrical is designed to allow multiple people work on the same project at the same time. But if you did an update to one drawing while someone else was in it in a different drawing, and that drawing needed to update, it would hold that update until that person unlocks that drawing. So it will update all the other drawings, but that one drawing may have been missed, and it will go back and do it the next time it refreshes. But in case for some reason you're about to just hit print, or you're going to send this off somewhere, just make sure you do that project-wide update, and that all drawings get connected to it. So a very important command if you don't actively use it to talk about. It looks like the list is growing, Matt.
Yeah, we have a few, and they're just a lot of comments, but all good stuff. So another question here: can I use electrical symbols from all electrical standards like IEEE, IEC, NFPA, or can only one standard be used during AutoCAD installation?
So you can install all standards, and you should if you are going to be using them. If you sometimes do drawings in imperial format in the US, but then in other times you need it in metric format, you should definitely install NFPA and IEEE. If you are doing a lot of work, internationally and use IEC symbols a lot, those are important things too. So you should install all of them. You choose one library as your standard, and that's just what the default then goes to, but you can obviously switch between standards anytime. If you're asking if in the same project you can blend standards, you can. You can link icon menus. I've actually, in fact, I think there's actually an AU, part of one of my AU classes that I did was tips and tricks on how to link icon menus. You could launch, in the middle of NFPA, you can say go to IEEE, and that automatically launch you to IEEE, and then you can go back to NFPA. But keep in mind, because it's imperial versus metric, your scaling on all of those symbols is going to be different. So you'd have to actually edit the scales then as you go to insert them if you wanted them to line up. And I guess I would question a lot why you'd want to mix icons within the same project, but you could do it in theory. But yes, you can absolutely install. I have all of the libraries installed on my version of it. And to answer a deeper question, if that's really what the root of it was, you could blend symbol libraries within the same project, but I would genuinely question why you're doing that, but you could if you wanted to. And
Okay.
while you get ready for the next one, I just want to call out Mark. You said working from home, which is not fun. And just somebody else commented, I think, on here about this being much later in the day than they normally are. And I do apologize for that. And I am appreciative of you all being willing to move to this time slot. This was actually because, if you remember, any of you that joined last month, it was very challenging with my 3-year-old who is home. And so during all of this COVID, and my husband's been working still through all of it, so he's not home. So I asked to move during nap time so that I would have a little bit more dedication to be able to provide you these webinars, since I do so much talking and it's kind of hard to wrangle them. So anyway, I appreciate you guys all being willing to do that, and we'll probably be in this mode for the next couple webinars. We're looking to, maybe move it back to normal time by September, assuming things are, I'm able to put him back in daycare and things like that. But we'll see. So again, I appreciate you guys being willing to make the move. I just wanted to talk about that just so you guys understood why we moved the time.
Yeah, and for anybody that's joined for the first time, our standard time is typically, I think, 11 a.m. Eastern.
Correct. Yep,
Yeah,
exactly. We try to cover EMEA time zone a little bit better by doing that 11 a.m. so that it's not so late in the evening for all of our colleagues that join us from EMEA. But unfortunately, I just had to move for these next couple months.
So we have a little bit more specific question here.
Sure.
Looks like it's around minimizing the window tabs or using the window tabs feature to separate AutoCAD files for AutoCAD 2020. And the problem he faces is when those small thumbnails on the desktop are minimized, you can't see the entire name of the drawing. Is there a way to expand the nameplate so you can see more of the file name? So is that Is that basically on the Windows taskbar, or is that inside AutoCAD, like the tabs that you have up there?
That's what I'm trying to understand too, because this is what I use when I think of tabs, I think of these. I am not sure.
And maybe Danielle, if you can explain a little more, we can unmute your line. I'm unmuting you now.
I'm wondering, I have to move my go-to event. Like if you minimize this. Nope,
And
that did not.
Brandon is saying it's an AutoCAD setting. And Daniel's mic is down right now, so.
Okay. That I'm wondering, is that just a standard AutoCAD display setting? I guess I haven't played with that particular one in a while.
Yeah, I can look into maybe where that is or what that's called.
Yeah, I've not, no, that's not it.
You said top right corner there is minimize, cascade, and close feature.
Top right corner of my screen?
Yeah, so maybe just in your, on the drawing itself, I think if you close this, not for the application, but for the drawing itself. Like if you were to minimize the drawing, not the.
Oh, I see. You're talking. Yeah, I'm sorry. My go-to webinar pane keeps covering all these things, so that's why I'm struggling. So you mean like this, but you're actually talking in the minimize, the full minimize, like these. Are you talking down here? This view?
And that's where I think, yeah.
Okay.
And it doesn't show.
You can move the command prompt all around if you need to be able to see this better. I mean, I never do it like this. I would always recommend you use the tabs of what you have open. I don't really see any point in doing this. This seems like very old school AutoCAD. And don't get me wrong, I started on R10. So I've been using AutoCAD since the mid 90s. But I don't see any benefit to working like this at all, especially if you can utilize the tabs up here. I mean, I just don't see. You're going to get, and you can switch easily here. You can float between model and paper space. Like I just don't see any reason to work out of that minimized mode. So my advice would be, that's a bit legacy, or perhaps, I mean, even out of vanilla AutoCAD, I wouldn't recommend it. So I'd be curious to know why, the use case for why they're doing that, but I don't know of any way to make those larger or show the drawing name any better than that. I'm sorry, I was not understanding what you meant by the thumbnails to whoever asked that. I thought you actually were talking about the minimizing to like little images of thumbnails, and I'm like, I don't know what setting that is in AutoCAD. I've not seen that. But fair point.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a way to expand that title. Typically things will resize depending on how much you have down there, like tabs inside of a browser or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, to Tiffany's point, maybe that's why they went with the tabbed, up top there.
And then I did notice, Matt, while I was just looking at this, that there was a question around automated report update. So one of the updates was the set files, saving more options inside of them so that there's more that you could do within the automated report file. So if that was, I don't know if that answered the question, but there was an update done to that automated report.
Okay. And then we have a question around, is there a similar AU class for deploying electrical with Vault?
There is. So Matt and I actually taught an AutoCAD Electrical and Vault class, as well as Rob and I did quite a few years ago. So check the implementation, all of the implementation classes, because many of them are around both AutoCAD Electrical, and we talk about if you're going to utilize data management, the Vault updates. So there's multiple classes over multiple years that talk about that. And we even did one not last year, but the year before that. So 2018 AU, we did an EMX one. So we did what it would actually be to set up AutoCAD Electrical, Inventor, and Vault, and how they all talk to each other. So lots of info out there.
Yeah, Andrew, I'm looking for a link for you. Once I find something, I'll paste that here in the answer pane.
And he actually just asked a specific Vault question to you.
Yeah, I can answer that, or I can show it.
Okay,
if you'd
I can.
like to see
Yep.
it.
Yeah, I can stop
May I have
sharing.
to make me presenter?
Yes, I will do that. If I can get back to my staff page. Okay, there you go. There you go.
Okay. And where's, okay. Tiffany, you see my Vault?
I do indeed.
Okay. Yeah, so if we go to Tools, and then your Administration Vault Settings, and then right on the Files tab here, we'll go down to Working Folder. So predefined, typically somebody will have set a client working folder here. So I don't know if you mean predefined by somebody else or just out of the box. I think out of the box it does the user folder possibly, or may even be in the documents location. So we may have an option here that's enforced. So somebody may have set that as an admin to enforce a consistent working folder. Or if this selection is selected here, it allows the clients to independently choose the working folder. So with either of those options, that should get you the answer I think that you're looking for. And that's that.
He said that was the setting, but how does AutoCAD work with that setup?
I guess I would have to have a little bit more clarification on that.
The Inventor admin usually wants to predefine. I guess I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't see any difference. It really just depends on your folder structure inside Vault. One area is probably going to be maybe Inventor data, or maybe it's a little bit of both. There's an electrical area and then an Inventor area. So I'm not entirely sure, because that shouldn't change too much as far as your workflow with AutoCAD Electrical. You're still working locally. You're still using a folder structure. Vault is just on top of that as another layer. So Andrew, maybe we can unmute your line, because I know you're probably trying to type a lot. If that works.
Hi there.
Hi, Andrew.
My primary sector of work is with mechanical guys as well as electrical guys, and a bit of architecture as well. The definition of the Vault working folder is nearly always C:\Vault working folder. And obviously, if you've got multiple users working with the AutoCAD Electrical environment and they're working locally, how do they see each other's files across the domain? I've usually kept away from installing electrical with a Vault implementation because of that limitation of the files being locally with multiple users on the project file. So we tend to avoid doing multiple, the electrical and the Inventor on a Vault. We just tend to put the PDFs in there. So I might imagine if Tiffany was working on a file that was local to her, made a change, and then Matthew was connecting to that. Obviously, with them in a separate place in the domain, he can't see your files when they're checked out to you from Vault.
Yeah, so if you're working outside of a different working folder, so if people have different working folders defined, yeah, that's a little bit different.
I mean, what I meant was, obviously, if you've got your local working folder of C:\Vault working folder,
yep,
and he's got hers as a C:\Vault working folder,
yep,
you open drawing number 1, which has a contact on it, that has a relay on it. Then Tiffany's got working on drawing number 2, which has got a contact related to that relay. Those files are now disparate. The only way I've seen, that's why we don't implement it, it's a pain, is to have an external shared location for AutoCAD Electrical users to connect externally to a single placement. It's a bit weird to explain, but that's the workflow I've seen, and that's why we don't bother doing it, because it's just too much of a faff.
So let me just clarifying questions here, because what you just described is the use case of electrical. I mean, that's the beauty of it. Take data management out of it altogether, right?
Yeah.
Matt and I could both be in this project that I'm showing right now, the NFPA demo, and I could be working on drawing 1 and he could have drawing 2, because the beauty of it is we can all have, every one of us on this call could have NFPA demos sitting in our project managers that we're all linking to the same project, and we could all be working in it in different areas. What Vault does, unlike any other data management package, and this isn't a sales pitch, this is just my experience
I know Vault quite well.
Going with it, is that it preserves that nature. All other data management packages that I've worked with force you to check out the entire project when you are the user, so then no one else can check out that project until you check the whole thing back in. What you just described, Vault should be allowing to do, but it doesn't make them out of date. What happens is I'll see in there, and actually I just realized I'm not the one sharing screen anymore, which is fine, Matt. I think there's another Vault question, so you don't have to, but like if I was clicking into drawing 1 and Matt was in it, I would see in my details area that this is locked by Matt. But if I updated something on drawing 2 that needed to go back to drawing 1, it would save that in the project database. And the next time that closes, like that would all still be gathered. It's not like that's lost or it just like made them out of date of each other. Like it will get updated.
So does that change sit within the task list or under the SQL stack within Vault? Which one?
It sits on the task list, but it also, where it really lives, the most important place of where it lives, because the task list is just a way for you to execute those things if you wanted to do them and build them up later. It's really all of that data is being concatenated from the project database. So it's that access database file that's sitting in the background that's building out all of the project database information so that it stays synced. Your true information to everything within your drawing is actually living in that database.
If you have got a URL for me to get some info on, that'd be fantastic, because we do. I work for a VAR in the UK, you see, so I teach AutoCAD Electrical, AutoCAD and Revit and other things. So this is really useful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to help.
Thank you for your help. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you. So to answer the other Vault question, and then I think we have a couple other ones in there as well.
Sure, I'll be looking at them while you do this.
Yep, so the last one that I see there, so I think I can help pretty quick with this. So the preview thumbnail that you see in Vault, so as I'm showing it right here, so with the historical information, we typically get a thumbnail, and that thumbnail derives from the save. So inside the CAD application, typically when you save it, takes that home view and isometric view typically, and it takes a snapshot of that. So all Vault is doing is really reading the thumbnail from the file. So it shouldn't be a Vault issue, and if it is a Vault issue, then I will need to look into that a little bit further. But what you can do is just double check. So if I just go to the local copy of this file, so I'm just looking at it in my Windows Explorer, and I right click and go to properties, and I go to the thumbnail tab here, you should have a thumbnail on that. If you're not getting a thumbnail there, then we need to look into maybe what's happening between the file and saving it. But typically that thumbnail gets created during the save, I believe, in the application. And all Vault is doing is really just reading that. So I don't know if that completely answers the question there, but maybe there's just a couple things to look into. I have seen a couple. Ken says he doesn't have that option. The thumbnail option when you go to properties.
Allegedly 8.
So,
and then in that case,
on the surface, and will you be able to lend me those?
And then in that case, I'm not entirely sure what would give you that option. That seems like maybe a permissions thing or a Windows setting, possibly. So maybe check with IT on that, why you're not getting that. And that could be the result of you checking in the file. So if that file came from your machine, now Vault can't report on the thumbnail either. So it could be sprinkling down into the vault, and any files that you've touched might be affected by that. Okay.
And while we're on questions from Ken, I think you made a comment earlier around fixing glitches where some of the settings just randomly change and have to be reset. I would love to understand more what that particular question was, because I'm not sure. I've never seen that happen, but I guess I'm curious, which settings are we talking about? Are these core AutoCAD settings? Are they electrical settings? You can unmute and talk about it if you want to.
Which one was that, Tiffany?
Ken.
And you are
Can you hear me?
unmuted, no?
Yes,
Yep.
we can. Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, I've had it happen no matter if I'm using regular AutoCAD, electrical, P&I, architecture. It revolves around the basic commands of like attribute requisition. You have to change it from 0 to 1, and then you'll close the drawing, open it back up, and have to reset that setting back so that the attribute window actually shows up when you insert a block, or file dialog box disappears and you have to go and you have to reset that because it decided it randomly wants to disappear. Start mode decides it randomly wants to start back up after you've turned it off. Some of those simple commands that are built into AutoCAD, but for some reason randomly just turn on and off.
So for anybody who doesn't know what he's talking about, those are system variables. They're what we call system variables. Many of them are toggled with just a 1 or a 0 for on and off. Many of them have actually multiple settings and numeric values to them. So there are some that are drawing specific, where they will be on or off based off of the drawing. So I always recommend to people, if you like them in a certain way, always you save that into your template. However, most system variables are truly system wide, so they shouldn't toggle. When I see that the most, and I don't know where you work or who you work for, when I see that the most, it's someone who in IT that rolls this, or whoever your CAD manager is, actually forces a system variable switch at the launch of your software every time. So that would be more my question, or they have it built into, if you're even seeing it switch from drawing to drawing, they have it built into the on open commands that they can do, where they force a switch in the upon opening a new drawing.
Because I see it happen even between the same drawing. Like I'll work on it in the morning and then close it, and then maybe open it in the afternoon, and the settings, I have to go back and turn everything back on. And it's only drawings, I could go 15 in a row and be perfectly fine, and then that 16th one, I gotta reset stuff.
Something tells me, and this is just a hypothesis, but that's very abnormal for a standard AutoCAD setup. I mean, AutoCAD preserves settings, and those system variables are system variables, other than the few out there that are just per drawing. I would think that your IT team is pushing something on your AutoCAD. I mean, there's a lot of ways that AutoCAD can be customized to how different CAD managers and IT teams roll software out. I work with customers who literally force user interface setup, and if you change it the instant you close it and reopen it, it's going to all go back to the way that they have it IT deployed, even down to system variables like SDI mode, which, to be honest with you guys, I do not at all understand anybody wanting to still work in SDI mode, because it is painful to have to only have one drawing open at a time. I'm always working in multiple drawings, but some people want it. And there's been one, not many, but one customer that I know that has forced that setting on all of their users. And so those people actually relaunch new versions of the software. So they're launching multiple versions of the software to have multiple drawings open. So there's a lot of things that can be manipulated by how your CAD management is being handled. So that sounds very much like a CAD management control that's been set.
Okay, and that might be why when I was talking about the preview thing, ever since we upgraded to 19, so the little preview window that's supposed to auto-generate when you check a drawing in, back in the vault, that's what's not generating. It's just a black screen. So there's nothing. This is not generating that thumbnail.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know, Matt, if you have thoughts on that, but those automatically save typically, and they're normally DWIF versions of them so that you can click onto them and you can actually view them in other ways.
And that's why I brought the question, because we had that problem in 16, and there was a certain setting that had to be turned on that was turned off that created that thumbnail image when you checked it in. And I've yet to be able to find it in 19.
Matt, do you know of that as a vault setting? I'm trying to think of that being a
Yeah, and that's what I was actually that was what I was talking about before.
oh,
The
that was
vault
what you were saying. Okay.
thumbnail, yeah, is generated typically from the save of the CAD
So
application, and Vault is really just reading that thumbnail, and he didn't have the thumbnail tab when you click the properties of that file.
so hold on one second, because and I know we're out of time, everybody, and thanks for holding tight if you are able to. I'm just going to try to finish answering this one because I do think if this might help you. Why can't I see my screen? Oh, do I have to be made presenter again? Hang on. That's so weird that it does not remember that. So hopefully you guys are seeing my screen now. If you go into your AutoCAD options, so just right click anywhere in your screen, go to options, go to open and save. There is this thumbnail preview setting where you can define that you do want it to save a thumbnail preview image. Now this is on by default for me. So my guess is, again, if you've got things that are being overwritten, they might be overwriting things in options, forcing things off into system variables, and that may be what's causing you to have something like this unchecked. But you can also set like what the views look like for those thumbnails, all of that. I don't know if this is what ties to Vault though specifically, but I do know that this is where you can do a thumbnail save. Vault is not my expertise, as you guys know. I lean on Matt. But if it's coming out of the CAD package, as Matt is saying, I'm guessing it's coming from here.
Yeah, so mine's set to save the view, so.
Yeah, Ken, I found a forum, and then Jason Summerfield, he's actually still with Autodesk and on our support team, and I work with him closely. So I found something to try essentially for Vault side of it. So I'll actually email that to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna copy your email address, and I'll actually send that from my system here, and give that a shot and let me know.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right, good deal. Well, thanks everybody. I appreciate the couple extra minutes, and I will talk to you guys next month. Thanks, Matt, and thanks everybody.
Yep, thank you, Tiffany. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.